In 2013, African leaders committed to end war and prevent genocide on the continent by 2020. Well, it's 2020 now, and while there have been advances in some areas, Africa's guns are far from silent. And this will be a key priority area for the new AU chair. Now, this is South Africa's very own Cyril Ramaphosa. He takes over the reins in an exciting year for the continent, with the new free trade agreement about to kick into gear. So, what decisions have been made at the AU summit to better the lives of Africa's citizens? Now, we've got all of these and more news from across the continent coming up over the next half hour. So, Jumbo, Dumela and Sawubona. I am Dumelo Mototwane, and this is #Africa. Terrorism in Africa has been dominating the African Union summit in Addis Ababa. The continent's leaders met in Ethiopia for their annual meeting to seek to end violence in the continent and advance the construction of African Continental Free Trade Area. Now, this is where President Cyril Ramaphosa has also become the union's new chair.
The 33rd Ordinary Session of the Assemblies of Heads of State and Government of the African Union was held under the theme of silencing the guns, creating conducive conditions for Africa's development. A commitment to the Union's Agenda 2063, which envisions a peaceful and secure continent.
Agissant de manière concrète sur tous ces sujets et leurs causes profondes, en se donnant les moyens politiques, militaires et diplomatiques, le pari de faire taire les armes pourrait être gagné.
Mahamat noted the successful mediation of the Sudan crisis in 2019, which he believes shows that Africans are fully capable of solving their own problems independently.
Et conformément au principe de la solution des problèmes africains par les Africains, loin des ingérences extérieures aux agendas rivaux et périlleux pour l'Afrique.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa took over the rotating AU chair from Egyptian Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, saying he would dedicate efforts to enhancing the progress on Africa's priorities for development and prosperity, with focus on deepening collaboration amongst member states.
We have set ourselves key priorities to enhance the progress that is already underway during the African Decade of Action. We would like to deepen our work together in ensuring that the unity of our continent is solid and is based on the founding principles that our forebears crafted, and advancing the economic growth and sustainable development that our continent needs.
He also noted that Africans should take advantage of the opportunities created with the African Continental Free Trade Area to spur industrialization and therefore achieve Africa's aspirations of integration and prosperity.
Africa Continental Free Trade Area that we adopted last year will enable us to work together through intra-Africa trade, as it will reignite industrialization and pave the way for Africa's integration into the global economy as a player of considerable weight and scale.
The Union is currently working on establishing rules on the origin of product, non-tariff barrier monitoring and trade tariff reduction schedules to ensure the timely launch of trade on the continent.
We'll be generating large economies of scale and scope, vital to attracting large-scale and long-term investments. These will in turn accelerate development across Africa.
South Africa's Wamkele Mene has been elected Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and the appointment's been announced late on Monday after months of extensive lobbying. Now, Kylie Khumalo was in Addis Ababa when the announcement was made and spoke to an analyst about the appointment.
Well, very interesting development here at the AU headquarters. So there has been a very extensive process of trying to basically elect a Secretary General responsible for the African Continental Free Trade Area. We know that it's hosted in Ghana in West Africa. So it almost became like a war between Southern Africa and West Africa once again. But joining us now to look at these developments is the ISS researcher, Dr. Diata Mohammed. So, Doctor, thank you so much for your time. Your fleeting reaction to the development?
I mean, it's quite interesting that it had to be put to a vote. It's an unusual way of making decisions at the African Union. Typically, decisions are made by consensus. So it's a very interesting way of starting this chairship by South Africa. But having said that, I think it's also a step forward when it comes to the implementation or the effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. To have the Secretary General being chosen is among the first steps to establish that very important organ or institution of the African Union.
And just briefly once again, sir, now President Cyril Ramaphosa is a new chairperson. Obviously quite a number of challenges. Briefly for you, how are you seeing it panning out for him?
I mean, there are a number of challenges that the continent is facing, obviously, ranging from peace and security to development, to human security in general. I think some of the priorities for South Africa, as the President Ramaphosa has himself highlighted, revolve around those issues. So solving the conflict in Libya, in South Sudan, but also increasingly in the Sahel. So those are, issues that he will be looking into. And obviously also in terms of economic integration, again, the news of this election of a Secretary General for the AFCFTA is, the beginning of that particular, the implementation of that particular milestone for the continent.
Now, we've got more news and views from across the African continent coming up after the short break. Don't go anywhere.